For nearly a decade, he was the face of the unknown. Jeremy Wade didn't just catch fish, he turned the world's waterways into crime scenes, hunting suspects that science had forgotten and locals feared to name. River Monsters wasn't just a show, it was a global phenomenon that convinced millions that dragons still existed. And then, it vanished. No warning, no decline in ratings, just silence. For years, the official story was simple. Jeremy Wade had caught every monster there was to catch. But the truth is far darker. It is a story of physical deterioration, corporate sabotage, and a terrifying silence spreading through the world's rivers. This isn't just the story of a TV show, it is the autopsy of an extinction. To understand the end, we must understand the obsession. Long before the cameras, Jeremy Wade was a man living a double life. By day, a biology teacher in England grading papers under fluorescent lights. But his mind was thousands of miles away, drifting in the murky currents of the Amazon and the Ganges. He wasn't interested in sport, he was interested in fear. Wade was drawn to the rumors that polite society dismissed as folklore, spirits that dragged swimmers under, fish that swallowed dogs whole. While his colleagues discussed mortgages, Wade spent his holidays sleeping in the mud, tracking biological anomalies. It was this forensic approach that turned River Monsters into lightning in a bottle. When the show launched in 2009, it didn't look like a fishing program, it played like a detective thriller. The river was the crime scene, the fish was the serial killer, and Wade? He was the detective who wouldn't stop until the suspect was in the boat. From the piranha-infested basins of South America to the radioactive cooling ponds of Chernobyl, the mission was always the same: separate the myth from the biology. But as the show's popularity exploded, so did the danger. The network wanted bigger monsters, the audience demanded higher stakes, and the rivers began to push back. Television has a way of sanitizing danger. On screen, a struggle lasts 5 minutes. In reality, the production of River Monsters was a war of attrition. Behind the calm British narration, Jeremy and his crew were slowly falling apart. This wasn't a Hollywood set, this was the Congo, a place where the river is 700 feet deep and the politics are as volatile as the currents. It was here that the show nearly claimed Wade's life, not by a predator, but by a microscopic assassin. Malaria hit him with the force of a sledgehammer, delirium set in. As his temperature spiked and dropped, the line between reality and nightmare dissolved. He later admitted he didn't think he would leave Africa alive. But the physical trauma wasn't limited to disease. In the Amazon, a prehistoric arapaima, a scaled giant weighing hundreds of pounds, rammed him in the chest. Doctors later compared the impact to a car crash. For 6 weeks, every breath was a reminder of the blow. In Thailand, a confrontation with a stingray the size of a sedan tore a muscle in his back that is never fully healed. In Argentina, a toxic barb left his hand paralyzed in agony. And in a moment of sheer, terrifying luck, his sound recordist was struck by lightning, scorched by a blast from the heavens while standing on the riverbank. By season 7, the cracks were showing. The crew was exhausted. Wade was in his 60s, battering his body against the most unforgiving environments on Earth. But the greatest threat to the show wasn't the exhaustion, it was something they started noticing when they looked into the water. You can fake a lot of things on television. You can add dramatic music, you can edit for suspense, but you cannot fake a monster that isn't there. As the seasons progressed, the crew began to encounter a disturbing trend. They would travel to remote locations, armed with local legends of massive beasts, only to find nothing. The rivers were changing. Pollution, overfishing, and industrial encroachment were turning vibrant ecosystems into aquatic ghost towns. The monsters weren't hiding, they were dying. Wade wasn't just hunting for entertainment anymore, he was documenting extinction in real time. The northern river shark, a species so rare fewer than 20 had ever been seen, was a prime example. Catching one wasn't a triumph, it was a tragic encounter with a ghost. The production faced an existential crisis. How do you make a show about river monsters when the monsters are gone? Producers could have faked it, they could have staged catches, but Wade's integrity was the show's backbone. If the river was empty, the story had to change. While the rivers were emptying, the boardroom was shifting. By 2016, the television landscape had changed. Networks were pivoting away from high-risk, expensive expeditions towards safer, domesticated content. River Monsters was a logistical nightmare, expensive, dangerous, and unpredictable. The pressure was on to deliver guaranteed hits, but Wade knew the well had run dry. He famously stated, "I don't want to be the guy who keeps fishing until there's nothing left." So, in 2017, Jeremy Wade made the call. He didn't cancel the show because he was tired, he ended it because the subject matter had ceased to exist. The cancellation of River Monsters was, in effect, a mercy killing. Wade walked away to preserve the legacy of the investigation. He shifted his focus from hunting beasts to saving the habitats that once housed them, documenting the decline in shows like Mighty Rivers and Dark Waters. In the end, Jeremy Wade proved his thesis. The monsters were real. But the scariest revelation wasn't the teeth, the spines, or the venom. It was the realization that in the battle between man and monster, the monsters never stood a chance. The rivers are quiet now, and that silence is the most terrifying story of all.